when we're talking about marital satisfaction, we're not talking about your love decreasing.
Right.
Because I think even though your marital satisfaction decreases, your love can still increase.
Absolutely.
Because it's like we talk about it all the time. Like I remember when we first got together and I first said I love you. You know, when you was crying when I went back to Florida for the first time.
Okay.
I remember you had like when you said I love you back, like it was just this like, dang, whatever this feeling is, like, listen, I want this forever. Like this is
You
like
still
this
feel that way?
is no, I don't.
What?
I don't. Let me explain. Oh, that's what you weren't expecting. Um,
I wasn't expecting
when I
that.
said it then, it was just like, man, this blissful, like lustful, like just
Oh
feeling of
yeah,
just
you were infatuated.
like man, like I want this.
Yeah.
But now, like almost 8 years in, like when I say I love you, it's deeper.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I just feel like the level of depth that my love has for you now is just all around different.
Mm.
Like I can say that and like truly, truly mean it.
Mm.
So that's what I mean. Like the love can still grow.
Yeah.
We still do. We still do. We still do.
We still do after all this time at the altar. I alter my mind and vow to God I love you till he make his return. The rain should be the least of your concern. Under God's umbrella, I promise to provide and preserve his word and to serve your mind and spirit. Let me drive the boat. I promise I'ma steer it. The devil cannot get near it. You'll know this soon as you hear it. You need me, I need you. Even after the altar, we still do.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of We Still Do. We're your host. I'm Jermaine.
I'm Lena.
And we are so grateful that you're here with us again. Whether you're newlyweds,
Yes.
whether you're single, or in it for decades, We Still Do is for you.
Yes, we believe that you can thrive after the altar. And if you are new here, but you haven't yet committed, or it's your first time, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can be notified. We drop episodes every Thursday at noon.
I'm talking about drop it like it's hot every Thursday. Listen, join us, man. Stay connected, stay updated. Be the first to find out what we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So without further ado, how you doing? How you feeling?
I'm doing today. It's just one of those days, you know, we all have them. Yeah, I'm just doing.
Okay. You said two different things. The first thing you said was you're doing
Just
today.
one of them days.
What does it mean that you're doing today? What is that?
How are you doing?
Oh, okay. Somebody's being secretive. I'm good. I feel good. I'm doing good. I'm getting in a good mood. Found out a new way to stretch my body. It's been kind of helping my back out a little bit. So I'm doing good.
I'm gonna benefit from that.
Yeah, you
That
are.
back work.
Yep. Yep. And there we go. TMI.
What are we talking about today?
Not that.
Okay, well, tell me what we're talking about.
Talking about back work. Who back working?
Okay, focus.
You didn't.
I know I got off just a little bit, slightly. Sorry.
You got off, but you can get off.
Okay.
Anyways.
They're gonna be like, okay, I can't with this couple.
Okay, so I'll let you introduce our topic today.
Today we are going to be talking about marital satisfaction and how that is affected when you have kids. We have had 2 kids in the last almost 5 years now.
Yeah.
And so I think we've been around the block a little bit to be able to touch on this topic. But what was interesting was the statistic we found in regards to it. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I will. But before we get into the statistic, I know there are some people out there who probably have like this presupposition of what they understand marital satisfaction to be.
Okay, yeah.
And so just wanting to define that, like when we talk about marital satisfaction, what we're talking about is somebody's overall perspective or attitude that they have about their marriage. And this usually encompasses like your well-being, your happiness, and your stability. And so when you think about it from that vantage point, it is shocking to hear that 2/3 of couples divorce, or was it divorce or decline?
Decline.
Decline.
Have reported a decline in their marital satisfaction.
2/3, 67% of couples report a decline in their relationship up to
Yeah.
3 years after having kids.
Yep.
That is mind blowing when you think about it, because you would think, yes, marriage is hard, kids are hard, but their overall satisfaction, their overall attitude, perspective, stability, well being in the relationship declines. And so when we talk about that, like, it's so important to understand. We'll get into it later. Like, how do you avoid that? But I just want to kind of kick it off to you, because I know you read some things in that kind of stood out to you.
As far as the marital satisfaction,
Yeah.
I think it makes sense because we were literally in the trenches. But
Oh, wait, time out. Don't skip over that. Don't skip over that. Tell me.
What?
You said we were just in the trenches. Talk about it.
because it was a really hard transition when we went from 1 to 2 and having 2 kids, and we have an autistic kid at that. And so it made the journey, it was just like, ooh, okay, this is, you don't really know what you don't know, right? Until you actually in it and you're living it and experiencing it. And so you can try to prepare all you want to, but when you actually are in it, it can look a lot different. And so the lack of sleep, figuring out who gonna do what when it comes to the child and when it comes to the home, the weight of all that, the pressure it brings, the tension it brings, the resentment if things are not being discussed. There's a lack of time to be able to connect with each other. You have this newborn, you're not getting out the house much. It's just so many different factors that ties into this. And I'm not shocked at the percentage of like 2/3. I'm not at all shocked.
Yeah.
Lack of intimacy.
Yeah. Why you say that with so much like towards me? Like, girl, don't be pointing that towards me. You know
Oh,
what
it's
I'm
all
on.
good. Our kid's old enough
You know
now.
what I'm on.
I'm just talking about when you first bring home a newborn.
You know what I'm on.
Okay. When you first bring home a newborn, though, like, think about it. You know, you can't even do nothing you're not supposed to for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So you go from that to now adjusting and finding a new rhythm, whether you're going from your first child, your second, third, you name it, you know, or more than that. It's still a new rhythm and a new flow that you have to find. And so I can see how the pressure, the tension, the weight of that can fall on the marriage, especially if you don't feel like you guys are a team and doing this together and equally sharing the load and the weight.
Yeah. But think about it. These little people become the center of our world. Like,
In the best way.
there are parents who like center their lives around their kids. Like, and understandably so, like, there's a lot that comes with a kid. Like, you got to take care of the kid. The kid can't drive, so you got to take them to, you know, appointment. Like, think like everything.
They're
you know what I'm
very
saying?
needy when they come out.
Very,
It's all
very
about
needy.
them. They're very selfish and they're very needy.
Man, I heard one person say it like this when having 2 kids. Man, sometimes he didn't even feel like a dad. He felt like a referee.
Dang. Why you say that?
Because like you constantly have to no hitting, or no, like,
Yeah.
we share, or you don't talk to your brother that way, you don't talk to your sister that way, or
We do a lot of that.
you know what I'm
A
saying?
lot of
So
refereeing
constant
around here.
refereeing. So imagine being in a marriage where you have to do that all the time, and then you're wondering, why doesn't this little person get it when I tell them to stop, when I tell them don't do it again, and they do it, and now I'm frustrated. And think about all the times you have to do that, all the times you have to give this energy. How much of that takes away from your marriage? And it's not just like it's not just, okay, you become a parent and just a spouse. No, you have so many other responsibilities and
Right.
obligations, and it just makes for a difficult time. So when you hear that 2/3 of couples, like, their marital satisfaction like goes down, that makes sense to me when you think about the pressure that you talked about, because a lot of that, like, like, if you're not doing it, like, if you're not dealing with it, if you're not like actively like intervening when you get upset, like if you're not, even if you're not aware of it, that makes it very, very hard to intentionally work on your marriage when it just seems like every time you wake up, the day has already started. Every time you like look over your shoulder, it's already nighttime, and then you got to wake up and do it again. And it's like you don't really get time for yourself. And so when you first got together without kids, for those who did get in a relationship and didn't have kids, like you're spending a lot of time together.
Yeah.
You're going on dates. You get to do the romantic stuff. You know what I'm saying? You having, intimate time. Like, you get married, you go to the honeymoon, and it's just like blissful. You know what I'm saying? And then you have kids, and now it's like, bro, when I'm gonna get some time with you? Or I need some time away from y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, okay. I think there's a lot of things that's not being considered. We may be talking about different ages because it says for the first 3 years, right? So
mhm,
they are, when they get mobile, they are into everything and they are asking and talking and doing all the things. But even before that, like think of the newborn stage, like when you first bring a child home.
mhm,
And for me, when we had our first child, there's this new body that I'm in that I'm like, what just happened to me? It takes a year. It's on average, it takes a year minimum for your hormones and your body to get back regulated. So think about that. There's postpartum depression. There's so many other factors
mhm.
that ties into how you show up in a marriage. Um, as a mother. And then if you're breastfeeding and the lack of sleep, and I can definitely there's just a lot. There's
Yeah,
a lot. It seems like those days were so far from us, but yet just like they were yesterday with the lack of sleep, waking up and then adding on everything. Like when we had both of our children, you were actually in school and like going through you started your master's program and then finished. So with 2 kids. And so doing
that's
that, I don't know
crazy.
how you manage that on top, but I want to talk about what did the 1/3 do that the 2/3 didn't? Because there was 1/3 that still found satisfaction in their marriage.
Yeah, and it's just it's just mind blowing. Like when you think about it, like the 1/3, they were able to keep this marital satisfaction for several reasons. When they looked at the difference, one of the things they found out was that they had healthy conflict management skills.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a matter of like, let's solve this problem. It's a matter of how do we manage the differences in a way that we still come out this thing together and not at odds with each other. And I think having those healthy conflict management skills was one way, because think about it, when you enter into conflict, like we talked about before, like this is a moment for you to understand more about your partner. This is a moment to understand, like, okay, this is what they don't like, this is what I don't like this is where we're different. How
Yeah.
do we bring those two things together? And so if you have a couple who is, just always tired, if you have a partner who's always frustrated, they feel like they're carrying most of the load, they might feel like it's not um equal, you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
whatever that is. And then you have that person trying to resolve conflict, and then you have another person who probably feels like you getting on my case, but I'm out here providing, or you getting on my case about the house when like you don't know what it's like to be home and around the kids all day. Like
Right.
emotionally, you don't know what that's like. You don't know what it's like to be touched out. Like you actually get breaks. Like you go and you get to be around other people. Most of the time I'm here with kids by myself, touched out, yelling, diapers, doo doo, like
Yeah.
all the things. And so you have these two people who are misunderstood, these two people who are on edge, or whatever their respective stances is in the conflict. And that makes it difficult. So when you have a couple who understands, like, okay, this is a season, this isn't going to be forever. Like, we can get through this.
Yeah.
What do you need? What do I need?
How
Because
can I support you?
how can I
What can I do to
support
lift the
you?
load?
And it's like,
How can I
okay,
serve you?
and I think sometimes we have this we have this unrealistic expectation of like, I'm gonna just take all the stress off of you, when in reality, just focusing on one thing
That's good. Yeah.
can really make a big difference. So when you think about like, okay, what's the one thing that'll move the needle for you? Like if you, um, for example, like I know, especially now that like I'm in my career, like I'm doing therapy, like I'm speaking, I'm traveling, and you're at home most of the day. You know, when you get to do the things with the babies, you get to be at a point like all the things you get to enjoy, like you still are tired. You're still stressed out, touched out.
Yeah.
And so one thing you would tell me is just like, I just need a moment to myself. Like, can
Yeah.
you just give me that? Like, I just I know I want to get up early, but I'll still stay up late to get a moment to myself.
I literally would.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just that moment to yourself is a way for me to be able to say, okay, that's how I can move the needle. That's how I can add satisfaction to my marriage by allowing you this time to yourself because you're with the kids all day.
Yeah. I think it's another thing that they did in terms of the 1/3 was they had a strong friendship. And there is a sense of like togetherness. Like we in the trenches together, where the weight of that didn't solely fall on one person. And one thing that I remember us doing when we had our newborn, like Jaden would be right there on the couch and he would be knocked out, and like we would be playing a board game or something, like just to still
Listen.
find ways to connect in the moment, to laugh, to keep from crying a lot of the times.
Mhm.
But when you genuinely just have somebody that's like, okay, ride or die, like no matter what, I got your back. I think that makes a difference. And in sharing the load, I remember as a newborn, like, okay, there was times where I had to get up to feed him, and then you would get up and do the diaper changes, and like, we shared the load, so it didn't feel like the weight was just on me. But I believe that's part of that 1/3, of
Yeah.
just having a strong friendship and being together in the trenches of parenthood.
Yeah, I would even say I think where we've struggled the most in our marriage is when we weren't intentional about our friendship.
Mm.
When we weren't intentional about date nights, when we weren't intentional
Yeah, yeah,
about
for sure.
check-ins, when we weren't intentional about making sure that we're there just to listen or whatever. Like I think that's where we've had our most difficult moments
Yeah.
because even in conflict, when we do have our differences, they're the most intense when we haven't been strengthening our friendship.
Hmm.
And I think that's the problem a lot of couples fall into is they feel like love is enough.
Yeah.
They feel like I love you, like I provide for you, or, I'm taking care of you, or we got our roles together, you know what I'm saying? And we're just doing what we need to do to function as a family. And it's not just a matter of building the friendship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think the same person who did this research that we came across was the same person who said at the base, at the foundation of every strong marriage is a strong friendship.
Hmm.
And so it makes sense why like the people who um the 1/3 who were successful, the 33, 34%
Hmm.
were successful is because when you have a strong friendship, the conflict isn't as sharp.
Mm,
The conflict isn't as harsh.
that's true.
You're more likely to look out for the good of them rather than just saying what comes to your mind. Because when we say I love you, we feel that that's everlasting. We not God. We don't have unconditional love.
Yeah.
And unconditional love in the sense of like unlimited. Like his love is going to be the same no matter what. Our love, like it goes up and down,
Yeah.
and we feel that that's enough to sustain us when it's not. I would argue. I would argue. Liking your spouse is more important than loving your spouse. I'm gonna just throw that out there.
Yeah, I can see that because we know that love is a choice and it's a commitment, right? But there's gonna be times where it's like, I don't love you right now. And
And what do you do in that moment?
if you have a friendship to where you actually like them though, I think you still solid. Like you still gonna be good. You still have something to stand on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, even in the moments where you're not feeling all the feels of love,
Yeah.
there's still this like for this person and this enjoyment with being around them, you know? So I definitely think it'll anchor you in the moments where love may not feel present.
Yeah. It's almost like love is an action, but like is a attitude.
Mm, that's good.
Because when you love, you choose. Like whether it's there or not, like you still make the choice.
Mhm.
But when you like, it's I'm gonna approach you a certain way because I have a certain care, a certain respect for you.
Mm.
And I think that especially couples who are serious about their relationship with Christ, it's something about being close to Christ that changes your attitude. Like Paul said it like this, um, in Philippians, and I'm paraphrasing, like to have this attitude of humility as Christ had. And then he also went on to say, like, consider others more important than yourselves. When you consider others more important, then that means that you approach them with a certain reverence or a certain respect. And I think that you would view them in, uh, as being made in God's image and in his likeness. And when you see them that way, then you don't just see them as like my wife. No, you see them as God's son or God's daughter.
Mhm.
And that causes you to approach them a certain way. So I think like making like loving you is the action, but you can still have a terrible attitude. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Mm.
remember there were times I remember there were times where like what was it? We would go on trips, and we would go on these trips and you would get pissed because I'm on these trips and I got a terrible attitude.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, I love you. I'm going. We celebrating all the things, but because my attitude is not conducive for the type of time we trying to have,
Mm-hmm.
it messed up the whole
Messed up
trip.
my mood.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it messed up your mood. And so love is the action, but you know what I'm saying? Like liking them just takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. For those that have or are in the trenches and experiencing the decline in marital satisfaction, I think it's important to share the U curve, right? And so there is this decline that you may experience, but then it also curves and it also goes back up, meaning that the marital satisfaction does increase and does come back. You just got to ride the curve of that thing that happens. And of course, part of that is empty nesting when they're not so needy as they become more independent as they're growing. But it's not something that is like, oh my gosh, we're doomed. We're experiencing this lack of satisfaction in the marriage. And if you are, then we're giving you literally the ways that you can um, kind of combat that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Strong friendship, sharing the load, healthy conflict management, and finding times to connect, to have an emotional connection. So that way you're not like two ships passing in the night, you know? And you don't want this little needy, precious, little cute baby
Yeah.
is taking everything, but that there is no focus at all and you neglect the marriage. I think that has to still be prioritized even in those seasons as we navigate parenthood. One thing that worked for us prior to having our first child, we have two. We said, okay, once he's 6 weeks, we're going to go on a date. And we'll go on a date every 2 weeks, instead of a weekly date. We kind of pushed it out, spaced it out a little bit. That
Mhm.
was doable for us at that time.
Yeah.
But we prioritized our time for connection. And I feel like even to this day, like we do a weekly date night, those are the moments was like, it's like refreshing time away, time for just us to connect, to talk uninterrupted, to eat and not share.
Mhm.
It's those moments I feel like that is like the glue in the tough times when you feel like you're in the trenches,
Yeah, that's good. And just thinking about like you can almost look at the U shape as kind of like the stages of like marriage, like the honeymoon, the
Oh,
reality,
reality,
the
the
growing.
growth,
It's like when you're
yeah.
at the bottom of the U, that's like the reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is like This is the reality of what it's like to have a kid. This is the reality of where we are. Like, my overall attitude towards our relationship is decreasing, but it doesn't mean that we're doomed.
Yeah.
And so, even though we're at the bottom of this curve, like, we still can find contentment here. We still can find happiness here. It might
Yeah.
not be as blissful as it was because we didn't have this responsibility, and we can just go on date nights. We can just have fun. We can do whatever we want all around the house and just, you know what I'm saying, enjoy it to that capacity.
Yeah.
But now that we have this responsibility and it's draining us, we still can find contentment, happiness, joy in this moment. And
Mhm.
although, and this is the thing, when we're talking about marital satisfaction, we're not talking about your love decreasing.
Right.
Because I think even though your marital satisfaction decreases, your love can still increase.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, we talk about it all the time. Like, I remember when we first got together and I first said I love you, you know, when you was crying when I went back to Florida for the first time.
Okay.
I remember you had, like, when you said I love you back, like, it was just this, like, dang, whatever this feeling is, like, listen, I want this forever. Like, this is
You
like
still
this
feel that way?
is no, I don't.
What?
I don't. Let me explain. Oh, that's what you weren't expecting.
I wasn't expecting
When I said it
that.
then, it was just like, man, this blissful, like,
Woo.
lustful, like, just
Oh
feeling of
yeah,
just
you were infatuated.
like, man, it, like, I want this.
Yeah.
But now, like, almost 8 years in, like, when I say I love you, it's deeper.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like the level of depth that my love has for you now is just all around different.
Mm.
Like, I can say that and, like, truly, truly mean it.
Mm.
So that's what I mean. Like, the love can still grow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, two kids playing referee all the time,
In the trenches.
constantly like, stop this, stop doing that, quit kicking the ball,
Yeah.
quit hitting your brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, doing all those things, but in the midst of that, our love is grown.
Yeah, it certainly has. It definitely has. And I think it's worth mentioning that children are a blessing. They are a reward from the Lord.
Mhm.
And that I saw this quote and I'll never, you know how you see something, it's like I can never unsee that. And it just basically said, God gave you your kids to enjoy, like not to just manage them. I feel like a lot of times we're just trying to manage our kids, but actually, oh, bless you. Wow,
Thank
that
you.
was
I
intense.
try to be as
Silent
discreet as
sneeze.
possible, but I feel like I shook the whole couch.
You did, and your eyes closed. It was hilarious. Anyways, basically, the quote says, God gave you your kids so that you can enjoy them, not just manage them, right? And understanding that and the gift that they are, you can also enjoy it. And we enjoy the moments together as a family where we get down and we play and we kick ball and we go to the park and we swing and just all the things. But I think that also is us enjoying it together. Like, it doesn't always feel like, oh my God, we're in the trenches and it's like, this is such hard work. Or
Yeah.
no, like, we actually enjoy. We do workout videos together or whatever. You know, as they get older, you can do more with them. And I think each stage can be enjoyed for sure with a shift of your perspective. But in all stages, I believe that the marriage is still priority over the kids.
Yeah.
And although there's this needy kid that you just love so much, that needs so much of your time, they still can't be I guess prioritized over the marriage. And I think that's harder for moms because we can get lost in that role as a mother. And also our identity is lost in that we've just taken this new identity on, that it's like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. And then it's like, wait, hey, it's me over here, your husband. Like, I need time to connect. I want to kiss. I want intimacy, you know?
Mhm.
And it's when you have the perspective of the we-ness and the togetherness and the friendship, it's like, okay, I love you and I'm concerned about your well-being too and your real needs that you have as a man. And even though I'm exhausted of like finding the strength, praying to be able to have something left over to give to you at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So I think that that's just equally important to understand.
Okay. So what does it look like to prioritize your marriage when you give most of your time to your kids?
I think for me in this current stage, are you talking about you just want me to give some practical examples?
Yeah.
I ask you every day how I can serve you. What can I do to serve you? I write a love note to you. I pack your lunch. I make your breakfast. Just anything that I can do to lift the load. Um, so I think that's a part of it. We spend time talking in the morning where we'll spend 30 minutes, we'll talk and we'll pray together, where I'm actually keeping up with what's going on in your world. We do dinner debrief at the end of the day where we talk and how was your day? So I feel like that too. Um, Date nights, I think, is a part of that. Planning it, putting it together, and making sure we have that time. Also, prioritizing our individual self care, yours and mine. So we have a moment to ourselves. And I think checking in the middle of the day to see, like, how are you doing? Or the phone calls, or praying for you, covering you. I think all of those things.
Okay. Where are you trying to get some?
No, it's literally the life that I live. Do you not agree? Is there something that I missed? I'm just thinking of like
No.
practical ways and things that you can do. It's really like the little things to just say, hey, like you're important too and you matter and I want to prioritize you. I mean, one of the things that you said mean the most to you in this season is like making your lunch, writing the notes to you, whether it be appreciation or motivation or I love you or whatever, but the love notes to you and then also greeting you when you come home.
Yeah, and I think the notes mean so much because as a therapist, and just on this speaking journey, like it can feel lonely.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you do a lot of work, you create a space within yourself for people's struggles, people's challenges, you know what I'm saying? And oftentimes you don't hear like I don't know, you don't hear appreciation. It's just like, doing. And sometimes it is good to hear that appreciation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing for me to be like, okay, like, I'm grateful. You know what I'm saying? I get to do what I do. But when you have somebody say, like, I appreciate you, like, it's just different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for you to write those for me in the morning, like I enjoy them. You know what I'm saying? It's like having these hard sessions with couples, kids, families, individuals, like, and then lunchtime to see that it's like it was a good reminder. You know what I'm saying? So
I think
I
it's
enjoy him, yeah.
I think too, like it breaks up like appreciation and gratitude can go a long way, right? In any situation. But I think it also breaks up the okay, what are we doing today? What is the schedule with the kids? Okay, we have to do this. Did that bill get paid? Did this to actually like know you as a person, to see you and to hear you and to acknowledge you. You know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
think it kind of breaks that up because you do have I don't want to say the business side of family, but you know what I mean, where there's certain things that we have to talk about and address. And so I've just taken that moment to share something that I appreciate or whatever it is
Mhm.
that comes to mind in those moments. I think can go further than than we realize. Appreciation and gratitude, period. Especially in parenting. I think to this day, like it's one of the greatest compliments because I feel like literally we're just out here winging it. We're just doing our best, right? We're winging it and praying. And so to be complimented in the way that you parent is just huge. So tell your spouse you're an amazing father, which you are, honey. Or,
You're an
I see
amazing
you.
father.
Okay, wow. Thanks, honey. Or I see you're doing a good job or whatever. You would often remind me of that. And I still have sticky notes on the mirror. Like even something as simple as that. Like no matter how you feel, you're a good mother, you're beautiful or whatever. So I think it's those little reminders too that go a long way when you are,
Yeah.
right in the curve of parenthood.
Yeah. And you got a marriage emotion challenge for us.
I do. Okay, so our marriage and motion challenges basically it's for us to give you guys something to take away from this episode, an activation piece, right? You consume a lot. We want you to be able to have something to take away to move the needle forward in your marriage. And so if you are in the trenches of parenthood, this week we want you to do a parent huddle. So basically, whenever you can get a moment where the kids is down, have a moment where you can do a parent huddle and you discuss how you think the week went in terms of your parenting.
That can
What
be a tongue twister.
I know it was a lot. What can you do differently? And then I would say in the conversation with how can I support you on both parts. So both husband and wife asked that question of how I can support you this week in terms of parenting. So we're calling this Marriage in Motion a parenting huddle. Make sure you set aside time to intentionally do that, discuss those things, and you will see just feeling like we are on the same team. There's a we-ness in this. We're in it together in terms of the trenches of parenthood. It'll go a long way, trust me.
Yeah. And just to let you know, like, although your marital satisfaction decreases, your love can still increase.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
And you can keep the marital satisfaction. There is 1/3.
yeah.
That did. So
That's it. That's all we got. Remember to like, share, subscribe.
Thank you for tuning in.
Hit
Share
that
with
bell so
someone.
you catch all the episodes when they come out, because we want you to know that you are important to us, and we want you to be able to have a thriving relationship. So until next time,
Thank
we'll
you
see
for
you later.
tuning in.
Always gonna love you and always. No doubt you're my blessing. Ain't no second guessing. No one can separate.